Hello, today we're going to go ahead and solve quadratic equations by factoring. So we've already gone with a few ways of solving, but today we're going to go ahead and solve by factoring. So let's go ahead and get started with our very first problem. And I'm going to call this just A, just for the just to label this. And our first problem is x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. So we want to go ahead and solve this. And the way we do this is that we're going to go ahead and use the magic X. And as you remember, the magic X, the top portion is the letter C, and the bottom portion is the letter B, which therefore that is your C and that is your B. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and write our 10 up here and our 7 there. And what we do is that we're thinking of two numbers that when we multiply gives us 10, and then when we add us gives us 7. And the two numbers that I can think of are 5 and 2. So let's test it. 5 times 2 is 10, and 5 plus 2 is 7. So that one works. So knowing that, we can go ahead and use these two numbers to do the following, to factor it. So we're going to write two parentheses. And our very first one here is to get x squared. We write our first x's there. And then 5 and 2, since they're both positive, we're going to write it as a plus 5 and a plus 2. Now we can check this really quick. X times x gives us x squared. The last term, 5 times 2, gives us 10. Now we want to know if it works for the middle, which is the 7x. We do the outside. X times 2 is 2x. And then 5 times x is 5x. And that does gives us together 7x. So far so good. We set it up. We're still equaling it to 0. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and use the zero product property. And the zero product property means that I'm going to go ahead and take these two and separate them to x plus 5 is equal to 0 and x plus 2 is equal to 0. Meaning that now we separate them so we can go ahead and solve it. So let's go ahead and solve this one. So the first one, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And that gives me x is equal to a negative 5. That's one answer. And now we're going to go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides. And that's going to give me x is equal to a negative 2. Therefore, that stands for therefore. Therefore, my solutions are x is equal to a negative 5 and x is equal to a negative 2. And that's one set of our problems there. I'm sorry, I was missing the page there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do another problem. Similar, not similar to this, but in a different situation. Let's go with B. So, this is B. And the first thing our problem is x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals to 0. So we do the same thing as before. We're going to go ahead and do the magic X, since you already have discovered that. And once we do the magic X, we can go ahead and do the zero product property. So the very first thing, top number is 36, bottom number is negative 12. Now we have a negative there. What two numbers when we multiply gives us positive 36, and when we add gives us negative 12? Well, that will give us a negative 6, negative 6. So our factoring will be an x minus 6 times an x minus 6 is equal to 0. Use the zero product property. X minus 6 is equal to 0. And since they're the same, I'll just do them both. We're going to go ahead and solve for each one of these. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And I'll do it simultaneously. And that will give us x is equal to 6 on both sides. So therefore, that means, hang on one second. So therefore, x is equal to 6, meaning that we have one answer there. Good. Alright, now let's get to problem C, just to give us a little bit more idea of what's going on here. So we're going to go ahead and do problem C. And in problem C, we have a negative 2x to the second is equal to 18 minus 12x. Notice that this problem is different now. So what we're going to do is that we need to write this first of all in standard form. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and the easiest thing to do is to go ahead and move the negative 2x squared to the right side. That way I don't have to do a lot of work here. So what I'm going to do is add 2x squared to both sides. And that will give me the following. So first of all, that's a 0, right? This is a 0. Negative 2x squared plus 2x squared, that's a 0. And now we have this part. None of these are in common, meaning that we don't have the same variables. We can't add 18 to 12x because that's a different variable, and this was an x squared. So we can't do that. So what we need to do is that I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put it in order using by the highest degree. In this case, 2x squared minus 12x plus 18. All I'm going to do now is just rewrite my problem again, where I'm going to have the 0 on the other side. So I'm going to rewrite it as 2x squared minus 12x plus 18 is equal to 0. The very first thing that I'm going to do, since I have a number in front of my x squared, I'm going to see if there's something in common that I can factor in all of those terms. And what I do see is that I can factor, or my greatest GCF is 2. I can factor out a 2. And that's probably the highest number that I can factor. So if I factor out a 2, I'm going to be left with x squared minus 6x plus 9. And to check that, I can go ahead and distribute all of them and see if I get my top answer. And I do. I have 2 times x squared is 2x squared. That's right. 2 times a negative 6x gives us a negative 12x. Good. And then 2 times 9 gives us 18. So what we're going to do next is that now I want to go ahead and continue factoring now by using the magic x from inside of my parentheses. So now it's going to give us 2. Oh, hang on. I'm going to go ahead and do my magic x, and I forgot to do that. Let's go ahead and use my magic x here. I'm going to have a 9 and a negative 6. Remember, I'm only using the inside here. And what two numbers gives us a 9 and a negative 6 when we add? And those two numbers is a negative 3, negative 3. So it's going to be, now I can go ahead and do this. Now I'm going to have 2 times x minus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my 0 product property. So every term I'm going to multiply every term I'm going to have it equal to 0. So 2 is equal to 0, x minus 3 is equal to 0, and x minus 3 is equal to 0. Since I've already done that, that's okay. So at that point, this one I can't solve, so that does not equal to 0, so that's not solvable. But these I can go ahead and solve by adding 3 to both sides. And if I do that, I end up with x. I forgot one thing, important thing. I have to make sure I add 3 to both sides. I end up with x is equal to 3 and x is equal to 3. So therefore, x is equal to 3. Thank you.